Okay, so we are recording. And what I wanted to start with today was that today is our very last parent forum of the year. And I really want to thank Greenwich Country Day School and the administration and the mental health team for coming in, showing up, opening up and talking for all of these weeks as we as a community tried to come together and really go through this pandemic and this quarantine together. So I really wanted to just take a few minutes and thank everybody from Adam Rohde to Jackie to Trudy. I don't see Nina on the call or Ann at the moment, but Laura and Polly from the mental health team and DEI showed up, and our learning specialists and our technology people, and we just our PE staff and Tim Helstein. So really just wanted to thank everybody for doing that this year. And with that, I'm going to just turn it over quickly to our fearless leader, Adam Rohde, and then Polly will take over from there.
You stole my my opening. I was going to thank Jeff and the whole team for all of the time and effort put into these. I think they were terrific. They helped me as a parent. I hope they were helpful to all of you as parents. Also, a huge thank you to all of you parents on the line. These last few 10 weeks, 9.5 weeks have not been easy, and you all have stepped up to the plate. And whether you are having a 5-year-old and working through remote learning at their side, or you have an older child, we know what the lift is, and it's not insignificant. And we worked hard to make it as positive experience as possible, and it wouldn't have happened without all of you. So thank you. I will tell you that we continue to work hard on preparing for and planning for the opening of school in September. While I keep feeling like we have these consistent depressing messages, camp is closed and these kind of things, there is optimism and light at the end of the tunnel as our team starts to prepare for what we are optimistic will be some form of opening in September with kids on campus and the sounds of laughter and joy on campus. And that's what we're all dying to get back to. And please know we'll be doing everything we can to make that happen. And then also know we'll be in consistent contact with you throughout the course of the summer. You can anticipate regular communication from us as we start to draft these plans, as we start to solicit some feedback from you all, as we start to share programmatic decisions that have been made, calendar decisions, scheduling decisions, all of those things. So if you ever have a question that pops up, our doors will be open all summer, so send them our way, and do anticipate a number of communications happening between now and then. So I think today's session was really to start helping everybody get their heads around summer and preparing for the sort of summer months into the start of school. And we have our superstar team on board, and that's led by Polly, who I think has an opening for us. So I'll flip it over to you, Polly.
Great, thanks, Adam. So welcome, everyone. It's a pleasure to see the names that are popping into the waiting room there. So many of you have been people that we have been hearing from over the last number of weeks, whether that be talking to Trudy and Jackie or classroom teachers, myself. So glad to have these continual moments for us all to really connect and just get through all of this together. And it's interesting, when I was thinking about sort of just some thoughts about opening this session, I went back to where we were over spring break. The first time we got together, should we put these together? Should this be something that GCDS really does take a stand in and promote to parents? And looking back on it, I feel pretty strongly that it really has been helpful for many of us, and hopefully for many of you as well. But I also can't help but think about where we started and the video that Laura, Jeff, and I put together over spring break, and talking about how do you talk to your kids, right? And that was a big focus of it at that point in time. And I think we're kind of in a similar situation, right, with summer. Summer is a big space of time, and there's a lot of opportunity there, but it's not the same as it's been in years past. Whether you've got kids that have gone off to sleepaway camp, and unfortunately that is not happening this year, or if you've got little kids that have been doing little day camps here or little sessions here and there, that may not be happening as well either. So we are at a point again to really kind of empathize with our kids and listen to them and understand and validate that this is grief, real grief for them, and probably for you all as parents as well, because these days are long and you've all done amazing jobs in terms of corralling your kids and getting to do the learning. But now you've got some real empty days ahead. And for many people, that's looked upon with like, great, sign me up. I want more of it. But there are many of us that like a schedule and like to have their kids be doing certain things each day. So wherever you sit in that chair, just remember you really can't rush through that or control it, right? We need to continue to listen to where our kids are and how they're feeling. Do they need empathy from you, understanding, or are they looking for advice? Many times they're really not looking for advice. They just want to be heard. So just being mindful that this does feel different. We're all in the same boat together. They are not alone in their feelings in terms of being sad that they're not coming to the country day camp or the sleepaway camp that they've done in years past. You know, it's interesting. I was reading an article the other day, and the author was talking about, you know, what are some things families can be doing? What are the sort of merits of success for the summer ahead? And the author talked about 4 different things: independence, connection, purpose, and fun, right? I'd love to put the fun at the top of the list, quite honestly. But when I really think about that, especially for our elementary students, right? Independence. How can we encourage our kids to grow, to mature, to become more independent? Maybe that means just learning to ride a bike, right? Connection. How can we continue to push them to connect with other peers and socialize in a safe and appropriate way? Purpose. What type of things would they like to do this summer? Can we set some sort of mini goals? And when I say that, I'm not thinking everybody needs to read 50 books, but maybe for your student, it might be, I want to read the, you know, A to Z mystery series, or maybe it's I do want to learn to ride a bike, or I'd love to learn to fish, right? Lots of opportunities there. Knowing that we've been on screens for quite some time, and you know, knowing that we've all been thinking, is this too much? Really value the time ahead to pull back in some way, while also recognizing this isn't the summer to necessarily keep tally on how much screen time our kids are having. You know, many of us are in situations where you've got dual parents working, and you need to be flexible around what your kids are doing in order for you to be able to get through your days as a parent and stay sane. So with that, I open it up to questions, thoughts. Would love to hear even different things that you're exploring or thinking about doing with your kids, and share as a community together. I know there have been some fun resources that have been put out there, one through Country Day, whether it be the summer packets in lower elementary, the summer site in upper elementary, the above and beyond sections of the remote learning. And Trudy and Jackie can kind of talk a little bit further about those. But those are, you know, opportunities that are there, along with that summer exploration lab that has also just gone out. So there are more structured opportunities there, but then there's a lot of time for just kids being kids, and families being outside and you know, exploring what the day brings. So Jackie or Trudy, I'm just wondering, do you want to speak a little bit more about just the summer packets or summer sites?
Hi, yeah, I have to start with that, and then Jackie can kind of follow on from where we are. So in the lower elementary, obviously keeping in mind what Polly said, our children have had a lot of screen time, and we're seeing children get tired at this point, and our numbers go down in watching things. So as we've planned for our summer packet and our summer site, we've tried to keep that in mind. So for the younger children, the packets are all paper so that they can be away from their screen and get that fine motor control that we need them to have. And then our above and beyond site has got a lot of pieces that you need to go on the screen to see it, and then you can leave the screen to take part, whether it's an idea of how to take a mindfulness exercise, or how to be outside in nature, what to look for. So there's lots of pieces on there. We're also aware that as families right now are finding it harder and harder to log in and go through the slides, that motivation is getting tough. We're putting all of those on there, and we'll share some ideas with families how, if you want to, and you want to go back in, maybe you didn't do the fairy tales unit in grade 2 because your child was busy in the animal project and that was their max, or the poetry in grade 1. You can go back and take one piece that you and your child are into and work on that in the summer. So things to work with their brain, but also some other pieces that you can pick and choose what works for you. And those are the things that we have. I mean, just for me too, to kind of jump on some of the things Polly was saying, what I've loved is the conversations I've had with families over the last week or two who are talking about how their gardens have changed, how there's now a tent, and how there's now a trampoline, and how there's now a swing, and how there's now this, that, and, you know, people are building the things that they maybe would have assumed they would get at camp. How can I build that experience for us at home? And listening to families think about that differently, you know, and planning how they're going to play with their children or have their children busy outside. That's been really great to hear those conversations.
So I love the building summer camp at home idea. I think that's something we could almost come up with a toolkit for. That would be super fun. But that made me think about the summer exploration lab. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that first. So you all will have received the registration information that while we can't do camp the way we've always done it, we've tried to really come up with some really interesting and engaging modules for kids that are experiential. And it's not, oh, this is more school modules in July. These are really very different, very fun engagements for your kids to do with teachers who are teaching things they're really passionate about and are not necessarily teaching the same subject area that they do during the year. So I would encourage you, if you're looking to put some kind of structure into the day when it gets to July, to look at the summer exploration labs, because there's really amazing offerings there. Some are so great that we're like, oh, we should bring these into the school year as well. So, so start looking there. As far as summer learning, and I talked about this before, but we're really focused on what are the essential skills we want to make sure the kids don't slide on. So we're not looking over the summer for you to engage with the summer learning site as like moving forward. A lot of it is about engaging to make sure we don't have slide. So fundamentally in the elementary years, that's about reading and math skills. So when you get onto the site, while there is a ton of things, there are some things that we are asking families to do, and those are really around reading and math. We in the upper elementary school, we're doing a one book, one school engagement. That should be super fun to have all the kids who are returning to GCDS as well as the incoming students read the same book. And then we have a whole bunch of community building experiences planned for September. And we feel like that'll be great because if we're all together, those are going to be super fun. And if they're remote, we can still lean on those activities and that book as a community building piece. So that's an expectation for anyone in the upper elementary school to either read the book or listen to the book. And you're going to get all of this information on June 15th with your report card. Same time, same delivery.
Great, thank you. So I, you know, just to go back to where I started, I really look at the summer ahead as an opportunity for kids to find something a little different that they haven't experienced before, find some connections with kids in a safe way that maybe they haven't had in prior years. Maybe that's a neighbor, right? Trying to find that family time together and encourage dialogue and connection there. So I've always been somebody that likes to say to kids, embrace the boredom, right? You know what's coming in September, and you'll be right back doing, things in a scheduled way. Embrace the boredom. Outside, make it happen, get in that recycling box, create things. Love it. I love the camp idea. There's been something in the New York Times, I know, that at home section, which has been sort of a new segment they've added. And in that, each week, they throw in lots of different ideas for families to investigate each week. And that camp is definitely a good one. Pitch that tent and have the kids outside, sleep with them out there. Love it.
You want to go to the chat questions?
Sure. Our first question, actually our only question at the moment, and I'm pretty sure it's going to you, Adam, is as we start to think about trying, about going back, what is the likelihood that the kids will be going back in August? And if so, how early?
The likelihood in my mind continues to shrink as much as it might be the right answer. We're getting some intel from the governor's CT reopen task force that opening in August will be very difficult for schools. I think they're looking now at setting phase 4 openings on September 1st. So that probably means we're not going to open in August. Could there be other calendar changes? Yes. I'm not really ready to figure out what those would be or speculate, but the potential of a August start seems to be slipping as we speak. Obviously, if that changes and we feel like that is the most useful way to bring kids back, we communicate with you as soon as we possibly can. And I couldn't see it being before August 15th, and more likely the last, maybe week or week and a half of August. But I wouldn't worry too much about that if I was a betting man right now.
Okay, thank you. The next one's not a question, it's just a wonderful idea. And it looks like Danielle was on, but then she just logged off. I was hoping she could jump in and talk a little bit more about this, but she wrote, we have organized a neighborhood camp of 5 kids where the parents will alternate leading a week. We have hired someone for specialty areas, but we have a chef, a musician, and an artist that will participate and lead. I love that idea.
I think this is where you get really creative and you start thinking about like all the skills that you have that you never thought of and how other families can lean on the skills you have. And this is where the kind of group parenting, commune style living is great because everybody can lean on each other. Like someone has got to have a vegetable garden where they could do some social distance gardening with a bunch of kids together and things like that. So maybe a Zoom call with your close family friends where you can brainstorm some kind of version of what Danielle's saying would be helpful, as I know we have lots of working parents, and so leaning on each other is going to be exceptionally important.
It makes me think too, for some of the older kids, they could work together in their area, their neighborhood, to form a little business. So maybe there's weeding to be done or windows to be washed, and maybe some of that could be done pro bono, some of it, make a little money over the summer. So it's something we'll be talking about with middle school and high school kids, but I think some of the 5th graders could probably do that. And again, that sense of purpose might be a really fun thing to do, and again, maybe make some money.
I think one of the things the kids might be thinking about right now as they head into summer is goodbye. And we've been talking a lot about that. How are we going to say goodbye to our classes. So we have lots planned for classroom celebrations and saying goodbyes. We also have some students moving on. And so making sure that those people feel celebrated, and that, you know, I know that GCDS always says once a tiger, always a tiger. And so that is really felt by the kids. We have our 5th graders moving to 6th grade. And so we've sent out an invitation, and there's a big colorful invitation coming, but we've sent out the date, and we've said to families, like, please, for 5th graders, decorate your cars, make signs. All of the drive-by goodbye for the 5th graders is sort of their big moving up experience, which they've missed out on. So we're trying to make that as celebratory as possible and keep the physical distancing happening. But I think that the goodbye piece is an important conversation to have as a parent with your child, that so they feel closure, because otherwise it's going to feel very strange coming back. You know, their thinking will be they're going back to what was, and they are not going back to what was. You know, they'll be in a different hallway with a different teacher, with a different, so if you can help them in the conversations of, we are really closing this year, even though it doesn't feel like that, you know, that's an important conversation to have as a family, I think.
Thank you, Jackie. This next one came to me privately, but I'm thinking it's probably going to be an Adam, Jackie, or Trudy question, but it talks about, what about those kids who may not feel so safe coming back in September? Or what about the families who may not feel safe sending their kids back to school in September? And is there a way to provide an online learning option for students who are experiencing that lack of safety coming back in September?
Mm-hmm. So do you want to go, Adam, or you want me to?
You can start, go ahead.
Okay. So, I mean, we're working with, as the administrative team, really from the starting place that you plan from remote. So everything that the teachers are designing needs to start from a place of plan from remote, so that every student who is part of the GCDS community will be able to access the learning. So if some kids are at school and some are at home, they're all going to access the learning. You know, if everybody's at school, that would be great. But if everyone's remote, that's okay too. So our expectation is that we will be able to deliver in a way that wherever people are, they are being served and engaging with our curriculum.
Kind of jumping onto that, we're also very conscious of the children who will come back in, families that say we're okay to take that step, but who are going to be very nervous. We have a lot of families that are very much on their own and are being super safe and super careful about who they interact with. And even just things like planning for the drive-by farewells. We had our nursery teachers make a video of themselves in their mask with a guessing game, guess who this is behind the mask, so that the children, when they do see their teachers for the first time with a mask, this is not the first time that they've seen somebody that looks like that, because for the younger children in particular, that might be the case. So we're very conscious about that, and that for many children, when they come back in September, this could be quite nerve-wracking. And what can we do to prepare them, and what information can we give you ahead of time, steps that you can take to help prepare your child for that first day, so it's not such a giant step.
I'm just going to add a little piece onto that. The administration has a committee that's actually looking into this, and the mental health team has thought about this. You know, what does reentry look like? And we have to think about people who are going to be anxious re-entering or coming back, and how do we help support at that time? So while I don't have an answer for you this exact day, I promise you that we've already had meetings about it and already thought about it, and we are continuing to try to develop ideas that would be supportive for that exact piece. I had another question come into me privately, and it's really about if we're a more conservative family who wants to really continue to respect social distancing, how do they handle, how do they respond to, how do they talk to their kids when their kids are seeing their friends on social media hanging out with other people? So I don't know if Polly or Laura, you want to take a stab at that one.
So I'll just jump in because this is one that's been asked in many of our past parent forums. And my response is somewhat similar to what I've said in the past. I think, these are opportunities for family connection and family dialogue. And what you believe as a family may be different than your neighbors, may be different than your children's friends' parents. And, as kids develop, there are going to be times where you say no to something and 4 other parents say yes. And you're going to have to figure out kind of how to wade through that as a parent. And I always say, different parents make different decisions. And, as parents, this is what I believe and what I respect. And this is what our family will be doing, and kind of just leaving it there. Not easy.
No, and sometimes it's understanding that it's difficult for them and saying that out loud and saying things like, boy, I wish that this wasn't happening, and so that they understand that you're understanding, but the I wish means that you're still not going to change your mind. And the other piece too that we have to consider is that every family has different circumstances. So if you have a parent that's immunocompromised or has medical issues, or you have grandparents that you see all the time and with their age, as a family, you have to make the best decisions for your family. And it's a bigger decision that maybe some of the younger children may struggle with, but it's still helping them understand that you're not making this because you don't want them to hang out. It's that you're making this decision because grandma is immunocompromised, or mom's got a medical condition that we can't risk right now, and so we're making this decision on a much bigger level, and we're so sorry and we so wish this could happen for you, but today's not the day that that's going to happen. I don't know if we've already answered. What if your kids are anxious about the easing restrictions and they are nervous about going to the doctor, the dentist, the park, the beach? So what if they've gotten really anxious with all of this new information and they're having a hard time now moving outside of the house and going back into some of the normal things like going to the doctor or going to the beach? Or how do we help parents with that?
So I'll jump in to start, and just say, you are their role models, right? They're looking to you for direction on everything. Even when we think they're not listening, they are. They're looking to see how you react physically, emotionally, verbally, to signs of stress and difficult situations. So I think just kind of keeping that in the back of your mind as you begin to grapple with, okay, how do we go to the dentist, right? It may very well be you've got your young one by the hand and, I'm a little nervous too, but I'm going to be here with you and we're going to get through this together. We know that the dentist is a safe space. They've told me they've done X, Y, and Z, or this is why I believe it's safe, and really being there for them as their guidance.
One of the things you could add is there are a lot of smart people who are making decisions that are helping us guide us in this. And Mr. Rohde is waiting to hear from the governor. And when the governor tells Mr. Rohde it's going to be safe to reopen, Mr. Rohde is going to reopen the school. And I think that's true for dentists and doctors. They're not reopening their practices unless it's safe. And they are the professionals and the experts. And when they say it's safe, we should feel enough confidence to be able to kind of go forward on that.
I think also it's worth thinking about kids who maybe haven't been out at all. Like we have some kids who really haven't been out. So I think like okay, we're just gonna go drive around and you're gonna see people with masks on. Like you don't have to launch from they've never been out to going to the dentist. Like you can do the slow step thing. I mean, I know even probably for many of you, there was one time I went to the grocery store in early stages and I was like, and this is just going to be a flyby, and I came right back, so it was like, I think if we've been through those experiences, we can imagine that for the kids, like you may have to take 2 runs, like you may just try and do that first thing and be like, and this was a great try. It's like going to camp the first time. There are some kids who can't go to camp the whole time. Like that homesickness means they've got to come home, right? So sometimes you may try and go to the dentist and the first time it just doesn't fly and you got to do it twice. So listen to your child. Like, you cannot force them through something. You will know where that boundary line is and where you have to say, and that was a great attempt. So.
And I would just add, it would be helpful if you can to have had some of those appointments yourself or those experiences yourself and talk them out as you're getting ready for it. Oh, I'm going to the dentist or whatever doctor's appointment it is. I've got my mask. I know the guidelines are safe, and I know I've read the email from the doctor, and I know that they're doing everything that they need to do to keep me safe. I'm going to go when I get back. I'll tell you all about it. And my guess is that your experience will be similar, and I'll be right there with you, and we'll work through that.
For a lot of the younger children, it really is that talking through beforehand. It's going to look like this. It's going to feel like this. You're going to see this. So I would walk the walk first, so you know exactly what they're going to see, and then pick somewhere easy. You know, I know with one of mine, we took a walk around CVS at 7 a.m. because it's super quiet. There's nobody there. You can see the arrows. You can see the mask. You see the screen. It was fascinating. It felt safe. There was nobody around. And that was an easy first step. We haven't taken a second step yet, but that was step one. And it was a safe way that I could talk through, this is what it's going to look like. And then there was the trust there, because when we went, it looked just like I said it was going to look. So again, the more you can prepare and model for the children, the easier it's going to be for them.
Yeah, I mean, that you all stole my thunder. So I thought I was going to sound smart here, but you guys nailed it. And so that exposure is super important. And what Trudy's talking about, what Jackie was talking about, what Laura's talking about, is even the exposure before you actually go. So giving them that time to think through it, through their imagination, that imaginary exposure is just as important. And the only piece I would add in, you've already validated, you've listened, you've explained to them that you're making a choice because the doctors have said it's safe, and you've already checked this out, and this is what mom and dad are comfortable doing. The only other piece that I would suggest that you think about is talking about what happens if we go out and you get nervous. So if we're in the car and you start to get nervous, what do? Let's imagine what you can do. Let's imagine how you can calm your body. What does that look like? Let's say we get to the dentist and I park the car and you're about to go in and you get nervous. What do we do? So what you start doing is doing that imaginary exposure with them in their head, and you're doing it with them though in their bed in the comfort with you. So that's the only other piece that I would add on to that, which I think you all covered so beautifully. The last question here that's come in is, will all the teachers be in masks for the drive-through next week? Should we prepare the children for that?
So we were just having this conversation from an administrative point of view, and my guess is you're going to see a mixture. There are going to be certainly some teachers who are going to want to wear them. We're going to recommend that teachers wear them, but we're not going to mandate necessarily that teachers wear them. So there will be some teachers who will not be wearing them, and there will be some teachers who are wearing them. So I would prepare your kids for a mixture of both.
And just to jump in with that, we're going to make sure that that's very clear in my Sunday email, that this is what you're going to see. And the teachers have been having these conversations of how can they prepare the children so the children aren't surprised. So they will also be doing something ahead of time so that the children know this is what it's going to look like when you come onto campus. The teacher might be wearing a mask. What do I look like in a mask? Am I the same person underneath the mask? How do you know if I'm still smiling at you? So they're doing that work to prepare the children too. So it won't be we don't want any of this to be a surprise for the children. Each step has got to be carefully thought out.
I think one thing you should prepare your children for, or might be worth preparing your children for, is they're going to want to get out of the car, because they're going to see their teachers waving and being like, we miss you, we love you. And their instant reaction will be, oh my gosh, I see them, I want to touch them, I want to hug them. So because I don't want this to turn into a negative experience for you in the car where you're like, stay in your seat, don't open the door, So you might want to talk that through in the same way Jeff talked about how you're preparing them for what it's going to be like when they go to the doctor, to prepare them about what it's going to be like, how they're going to feel going through this drive-through.
Yeah, great idea. Will the kids have to wear masks when they return to school?
Don't have that answer yet. There's conflicting advice on that, and different countries are doing it in different ways right now. So we'll have better answers for you on that in 60 days from now. And that being said, I do think there may be some, we talked about a conservative family. There may be some families who say to their kids, we're going to want you to wear a mask to school, and that's totally going to be okay. And we may have some teachers who are going to be wearing masks as well. So I do think it will become more of a new normal, and I don't think it'll freak kids out one way or the other after they live through this, world that they've been in now for a couple of weeks and maybe a month and a change, and then we'll see throughout the summer, my guess is, people in masks. Does it become a new normal that carries us through into 2021? Very possibly.
The next question is, will the drive-through be slow enough for any kind of like conversation, or will it really just be waving, saying hello?
My guess is it's going, and this is our first time doing this. So the upper elementary, we get the benefit of watching what happens with the lower school because they're going before us. But my guess is you should expect it's not going to be very fast because it's just going to take that long to go around. And you're not going to be able to get very close. So any kind of conversation is going to be more of a, call and response, I think, more than a conversation, because the teachers will be back from the cars. But it's not, you're certainly going to be able to see everyone and be have a great summer. You're going to have that level of conversation, I would imagine.
Yeah, we did a sort of, it wasn't a drive-by, but we did a drive-through with our pre-K because they were collecting some objects a few weeks ago. So that was kind of a semi-practice, and quite a few of the cars did bring their child with them. It was a slow line, and there was a lot of hanging out of the window, calling hello. So there was a back and forth, but it's certainly not a conversation. But if the child is saying, hi, how are you? They're certainly going to get a response from their teacher. There will be a little bit of that connection. As best as we can, we want this to be a connection. But yeah, unfortunately, it can't be an in-depth conversation.
Mm-hmm. And we are asking that that's not the day that you think you're going to be returning your library books and things like that, because we don't want cars parking. We want everyone to keep moving through like a parade.
I'm looking forward to all of it. Danielle, I'm going to put you on the spot for a moment. You popped out when we actually read your comment about how you had organized a neighborhood camp. Can you just share with our community before we end sort of how you put that together and how it's all going to play out? I can only imagine that Miles is going to be one of the chiefs there.
Exactly. That's how it started. So we have a small block here. Our street is probably maybe 7 houses, and of those 7, we have about 5 kids that make up those houses. So they've been playing virtually at social distancing for a couple of weeks now. We're very cautious in the beginning, and a couple of the kids all go to summer camp together, typically Carver Camp in Norwalk, where I sit on the board, but we decided not to open our camp. Well, we're opening up a smaller camp, but we didn't feel comfortable sending our kids into, with other kids that didn't know how to social distance. We basically trained these 5 kids over the course of the last 10 weeks. So like I said, we have a lot of talent between the moms. So I said, well, why can't we just hire someone to do some of the physical activity that we all hate to do? And the dads are pretty busy. So I said, can we hire somebody to do some of the gym and phys ed, and then utilize our own expertise areas to work with the kids? So we have an Etsy expert. She has a store in Etsy where she does a lot of creative artsy stuff. So she's going to do some of the arts and crafts. I cook, so I'm doing the cooking classes with the kids. We've decided that they all need to be more independent. They're all 8, going to be 9, so all the same age as well. So we can keep it kind of age appropriate. We have a 2-year-old that is trying to keep up with the 8-year-old, so she'll be in there as well. But we've been trying to train them all to kind of make their own sandwiches. You know, we're all working, we all work. So, you know, Miles has had to make his own sandwiches and lunch. He's doing grilled cheese and ham sandwiches and such. And so things that are simple that he can do, and they're all feeling their independence. We have a professional violinist on our street who's world renowned. So she's going to be renting some instruments, and hopefully by the end of the summer, they'll all know how to play 2 songs. That's her commitment to us. But we're all going to chip in to pay for the phys ed teacher. That's going to be the camp, whatever that person costs. They'll come in 2 days a week for a couple of hours. We have a park right up the street, trek them up the street, run them ragged, and then we'll alternate. So pretty much it'll be 3 days a week, probably 4 hours a day between the 4 of us, and we'll alternate. So, you know, it should be interesting, should be fun. You know, the dads are trying to think about how they can contribute as well. But we just figured we kind of make it work, at least if we get 6 weeks covered, and see how it goes. You know, people have vacations in there in between, but it was kind of out of desperation. And I said, we can actually do this. You know, we're all project organizers. Some of them have their own businesses, and we kind of just put our heads together and pulled it together. But, you know, it's just basically out of desperation. And because we're all working, being able to do drop-offs at camps, the camps that are open, was not going to be a viable option.
Awesome. How meaningful for those kids, right? To see their parents in different roles, wearing different hats.
Yep.
Great.
And they get to stay and play together, which is cool. We don't even have to leave the street. It's a dead-end street, so we basically block off the foot of it to vehicular traffic. And they can run themselves ragged. So we've chopped the whole street over the last 10 weeks. I bought like, I don't know, 300 pieces of chalk. And so we have, so it's interesting, you know, the way the girls and the boys communicate in writing with chalk is that the girls are saying inspirational messages, you know, we're in this together, and it's all unsolicited. We don't guide them. I just put the chalk out and let them chalk the street to nauseam. So, you know, we have Go Jets. Everybody knows Miles is into football. So, you know, he's all about the football things, and, you know, some are drawing themselves or their families, but, you know, we've chalked the street. So anybody that rides on the streets, like, oh my God, these kids are like, have been let loose. But, you know, we have a lot of woods around here. So we've done a lot of the projects that you guys have given with the Earth Days and environment that we share with some of the other kids. So they kind of do it as a group. We did an Easter egg hunt of distance. One of my coworkers gave me the bright idea to put money in the plastic eggs, so that was very popular. I actually had the parents out there looking for eggs as well, so I got up early in the morning and planted them all throughout the street in the neighborhood. So next year we said we'd do that bigger. We're doing a pizza party Friday night virtually. So we got T-shirts made that the kids actually designed. We made them do maps of the neighborhood where everybody lived, and I took that and put it on a T-shirt. So we're all going to get the whole neighborhood with our chairs. Our local pizza guy is going to donate the pizza for us. I talked him into doing it because Miles does all his commercials. So donated the pizza. So we've just been trying to get really creative, and it's mostly Miles though. He talks to everybody, and so he's basically thought this was a great idea, and he gets to stay with his friends, and so we're doing it. So I'll let you know how it goes. But any activities you want to share with us, I'd be happy to share it with the rest of the kids.
It's fabulous. Jackie, you haven't had the pleasure yet of getting to know Miles, but you will.
Oh, he'll make sure.
Thanks, Danielle.
You're welcome.
Wow, that was great. Okay, I think that is it. So once again, thank you so much to our admin team and to Polly and Laura, who have helped me throughout all of this. And thank you again, parents, for joining us, and have a happy and healthy and safe summer and good end of the year. Bye, everybody.
Take care.